Here's to you, dear listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Metal Gear Monday's Revengeance, where you'll find your favorite conversations around Metal Gear and Kojima-related content delivered to you through tactical podcast action. I'm your host, Warren Minix, and with me, as always, are two of the most elite Special Force operatives that money can buy. I spared no expense. Major Chris Hampton, how we doing?
Reporting in for duty, Jack.
And Signal Intelligence Specialist, Tori Cortez, how we doing?
No, I don't have any more. I'm just going to stick with the... Yo! You're Snake, right?
Oh, I love it.
I really wanted to come up with a new one. I just want you to know that.
It's totally fine, totally fine. So, today is a character-focused episode, and this one's a little special only because it is not just one character. So today we are going to talk about Fox, Force Operation X. So we'll dig into it. We'll get into how deep we're going to get into this because stuff does happen. But before we get started, Chris, is there anything you'd like to just say at the top of the episode?
Yeah, I would like to shout out Matt, our audio editor. Thank you so much for the awesome work you do on the show. Also, go check out his band, Pale Lungs. They're going to be dropping some new music soon. Also, we got a new thing in the Discord going on, don't we, Warren?
Yeah, we do. Little video game club, like a monthly video game club's getting started.
Hell yeah. So, Alessio is steering the ship on this project, but basically, each month, members of the Discord are creating a poll. You submit games that are, I think they're going to do under 30 hours for the entire month.
Yes.
For this month, they're doing under 10 because it's half a month now. But everybody submitted a few games. We made a poll of these and voted on the poll. And now everybody's playing through Shadow of the Colossus together. And it's great because it's very conversational. And it's like that chattiness about Metal Gear Solid that you all love, but about other games. So if you're interested in doing that, just throw us $1 and hop in the Discord.
Yeah, because it could turn into future hosty stuff if it turns out to be something a little bigger than just, us club members having fun.
Right.
So, Tori, what do you have to bring today?
Yeah. Well, if you're hopping in into the Discord at as low as $1 a month, you may as well bebop around, as I'm gonna borrow from Chris, and find some other creative works that are going on around there. We've got a lot of creative people there in the Discord. One of which would be Mr. I'm going to say Jason CZ for now because I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce your last name, man.
Jason of the Black Pond.
Of the Black
that's
Pond.
That's right. Could you, resident Russian expert, could you give me that?
Chorny Prud? You mean
Nice.
Jason Sharzniak?
Nice.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was really good.
In any case, Jason and wife, if I'm not mistaken, have a wonderful little Twitch channel wherein at least one of the things they do is play through the Metal Gear Solid games. I think Jason plays and Allie provides the very colorful commentary. It is a trip, and one of the ways you could get on board with that is hopping into the Discord with us and finding out when those are scheduled. So good job on that, Jason and Allie. It's an entertaining watch.
I do love, and their Fridays they cook. Remember that.
That's right. Thank you.
Fridays they do like a cooking episode, I guess you'll call it, like a cooking stream, and it's really fun to watch. I haven't been able to watch them live because of when they drop, because I'm an old man that goes to bed very early. So, but I catch them on the rewatch. So, but I've had a lot of fun watching them. And do you want to do a little shout out?
Yeah, I'd love to do a little shout out. It's time for the perhaps now infamous mug.
Where's your coffee pot?
There it is.
It's not, I guess that is basically the size of
It
a
looks
pot.
huge. Either
It
your
really,
hands are very
it's bigger
small.
than your hand, yeah.
How tall are you, Tori?
I don't know.
We're gonna find out.
Have you worn a Darth Vader helmet sometime in the near future?
No, but I really want to know how you guys are gonna science your way into this one.
We'll find a way. We always do.
If you get the dimensions from a screen grab right now, okay, go on.
Perfect. Done.
Damn it. That was not supposed to be long enough for a screen grab. Okay. Anyway,
we totally
I've got
got
my handy dandy coffee pot here, which
Yep.
is, I guess now how we're going to call it.
Tori's ASMR, MGMR.
Oh, that's
listen
so
to that.
nice. Oh no, there's
Beautiful.
so many falling out. Oh God, I'm making a mess. I'm sorry, all of you other patrons. Huh. Why, it's Miss Rachel Frank.
Hey.
Friend of Alessio, if I'm not mistaken.
Hi, Rachel.
And patron of about 2 years, it looks like. So thank you so much for sticking with us, even when your boy had to move on to bigger and brighter things.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Cheers to you, Rachel.
Yes. And then I'll throw out a little, I guess I'll say a thank you, since the community has been very open and very welcoming to New Jack City chiming in here on the show.
New
So,
Jack City.
Yeah. I've had a couple of good conversations outside of the Discord with just people chiming in through Facebook or Instagram. And overall, it's been relatively positive. People were they were surprised, but also like, oh, you're the observer guy. You're fine. Like, we know who you are. So that was kind of nice.
Yes,
But yeah.
I am the observer.
Yes. But thank you to the whole community, everybody listening, and especially the Discord. Everybody's been super positive, and I aim to be around for a long time and keep building the show up. So, but yeah, otherwise I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Wait,
Yep. All right. So we are talking the Fox unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. So, Tori, I have a question for you because I want to
Sure, what's
see how you feel about this. So,
Uh-oh.
we joke that this is your baby, the character pieces, and it's
This is
okay
my
if it's
baby
not.
boy.
Personally, I think I'd like a little bit of like outside of who is part of Fox, but what is Fox? Why are they a thing?
This is my little baby boy Ocelot. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Sorry. Yes. The Fox unit is put together by Major Zero, correct? I think he's the
Yes.
founder of it. The sole founder of it, or did he co-found with the boss?
My understanding is co-found with the
Okay.
boss.
So the boss and Major Zero co-founded the Fox unit.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember if you already went over this part, but this is a CIA covert operations group, and which is interesting because if you harken back to episode 1, in the days of the boss, I'm just remembering that the CIA totally fucks her in so many ways. Just
Yeah.
so many ways. So
I
it's
think that's
interesting.
what the CIA does. They just fuck
Yeah.
things
Yeah. Okay.
So
like that.
So I never realized this either. We didn't talk about it on last week's episode or last episode that dropped. When we're talking about the virtuous mission and moving forward, they basically pulled the same trick on the boss again. Even though it's true, they basically said, we had nothing to do with it. The boss did everything.
yeah.
They literally pulled the same gag twice. This time it
Yes.
just happened to not be like it actually was true. Maybe she got that from them doing it to her when she was in the coma last time.
It could be.
So I never
Could
thought
be.
about that, but I forgot to bring it up when we recorded that last episode.
Oh, that's a
because
good point.
it is interesting how it's just like they have like a 4-page playbook. And they were like, well,
no
we
shit.
can't shoot it, we can't turn him into a spy. Oh, we'll do the old only they handled it and America was not the problem. It's very interesting.
What a tactic.
Yeah. So, Tori, who make up the Fox unit?
Well, the Fox unit consists of none other than your boy Major Zero. Sing it! Paramedic!
Let me hear you.
Coming at you with your boy Naked Snake, and you know the one, the only, the joy, the boss.
Oh shit. Now, we talked about the boss already. So we're gonna put a pin in the boss from a previous episode. We'll get back to everything about the boss when we get to the end of the game, because we're gonna learn a lot about post-operation virtuous mission for the boss. The one caveat that we talked about off mic is when we talk about Fox, I think the big piece is Fox did a lot of shady shit during this timeline, and we really don't want to talk too much about the other stuff that Fox does that isn't part of what we now know as Operation Snake Eater. So we're probably not going to talk about XOF. We're not going to talk about Cypher and some of these other parts where we even learn in Metal Gear Solid 5 that shit was happening at the same time. Like, we're not really going to get into that today. So this isn't like a crazy conspiracy theory episode. The Fox is a relatively boring group when it comes to Metal Gear Solid 3. They execute Operation Snake Eater, and that's when we get Big Boss, and that's when shit gets wild. So it's just a little caveat, because I already had a few people of like, so how deep are you really going to get into this? And I'm like, not deep at all, because it makes for a lot more fun when we get to your Peace Walkers, your Portable Ops, your Metal Gear Solid 5s, your Metal Gear Solid 1s, where we might like dabble about who they are, but really it's not something we really want to get into at this time, because it takes away from Metal Gear Solid 3. So
Hell yeah.
Caveat out of the way. That's in the parking lot for later. So, who do you want to start with first, Tori?
I mean, we could just start with the one that's at the top of the list.
Tell me something, Sigint.
What's that?
What does Sigint mean, anyway?
It's short for Signal Intelligence.
Signal intelligence?
Yo,
I don't
Snake!
know. Nice. Nice.
So we're going to talk about Sigint. I love Sigint, and so what I do like about Sigint is so we all know now, and I believe Tori learned this in her research, that Sigint is short for Signal Intelligence.
I feel like such a dumbass, you guys.
Now, it is in a codec call, so it's okay, because a lot of this stuff you could sound like you're the smartest guy in the room, but sometimes it's just because I saved a shit ton of times, or I didn't understand guns well enough when I was 20 years old playing this game.
Right.
And that's maybe why I learned some of this stuff. So definitely don't take that to heart. But
all right,
the long and the short of it,
dum-dum.
yeah. So Sigint is cool because Sigint is basically like your field op guy. So he's going to explain your backpack, your personnel sensor, any of the stuff, any of the tools you have or weaponry you get over the course of the game. Sigint is your guy. A new camo, he'll explain to you why it was either designed that way. Like, he's obsessed with the Choco chip. He named that one. So, like, that's a big thing. And he goes into, like, small little details about it. So, as far as gameplay is concerned, he'll go into the Cobra unit, like how they came about, or at least a very couple of lines. And the thing that's interesting about him is I very much enjoy his relationship with the other members of the Fox unit. So we talked about in previous episodes of just like, how did these people meet each other? And Zero got to like handpick this team. So why Sigint is a pretty good question, and we have it in our notes here, and it's very interesting that we learned that Sigint was, I guess, like a problem child, quote unquote, and when we sort of push Sigint's like buttons for that, he basically says like, well, I mean, I'm black, and it's a pretty racist world out there, and I think it's still going to be racist for a long time, and here we are in 2020, that stuff is getting wild, and it's very interesting that he says Major Zero was a good guy and believed in him for his skills.
Yeah.
What happened? I'm just
Right?
kidding. We're not talking future stuff now, but what
Yeah.
happened?
So yeah, so he's just he's a very interesting character. I like the way that he, like, it does suck because we don't get enough of these characters in MGS3.
Especially Signet, though.
Yeah, the caveat has to be out there because he does become Donald Anderson, right? He does become someone that's a giant deal in the lore that is the Metal Gear games. But in this moment, he's just a guy that talks about guns and equipment and maybe the occasional, like, sneak a shot over at Zero or Paramedic. Like, they'll argue over how cool a camo is versus if it's even effective at hiding. Like, it's a bummer that we're going to keep talking about these guys, but they don't really they're not fleshed out as much as, say, the Cobra unit, and they're just bosses, right? You would think your team are like they're your best friends. They're the ones that you're going to be talking to, and technically they are in your unit. Naked Snake, he might be the most famous of the Cobra unit or the Fox unit, but it's very interesting that you have to really do calls on calls on calls to even get like some interesting feedback to find out who this guy is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Well, I think that, to me, one of the interesting things about Signet in his relationship to Snake is that of all the characters that you have the codec interactions with, he's the only one that's like a guy who's around his age, right?
Yeah.
Major Zero pulls rank over Snake. So you have this like that's like the only male camaraderie that Naked Snake has in Metal Gear Solid 3. So you get these interactions where Signet is really like ribbing Snake pretty hard for shit that he's doing, or they develop like their own kind of communication style with each other, to the point that they do become like pretty good friends at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
He's funny, too. Speaking of how he just readily will rib Snake, or just I guess the rapport they have with each other. When they're talking about the mask and you find out that, you know, the mask is so amazing because it's the first mask to blink and it can't talk. Or I'm sorry, it can't talk technically. The lips don't move. And Snake's like, okay, so what's so great about it? And Signet just very quickly is like, everything. It's just like, that's the end of the conversation. And you're like, fucking okay.
Yeah, I do like their back and forth. Like they learn from each other a lot, which I like. Like there's another codec conversation. I believe if it's early on in Snake Eater mission, not Virtuous, you're talking about he gave you a combat knife initially, and you ditched it or a survival knife. So he ditched it for like his little CQC style knife that he etches into the gun so he can fit it, and he explains to him like, well, no, I need it to be small and effective, and I need to be able to drop, like my survival stuff in there. So Sigint is like, oh, well, how about I make you a survival knife where you can open the hilt, and I'll put some matches in there and some stuff you need waterproofed. And Snake's just like, that's a pretty good idea. And it's like, oh, guys, survival knives, that's cool. Like that, I like that stuff. Like they bounce off each other a lot, which is really cool.
Yeah, I haven't triggered as many. Well, okay, I haven't initiated as many codec calls with Sigint as I would have liked to at this point. But going forward, I swear I'm going to try every possible combination of holding this thing in this area and talking to this person. Because I've said it already, I know, and I'll say it again. I don't know half the shit about this game, apparently, because I've missed so much of this story that only happens in codec calls.
Oh, yeah. A lot. That's very true. So this is good. So they have a codec conversation. Snake finds a cardboard box. And Sigint is basically like, well, I mean, it's just a box, right? Like, what, okay, like, I guess you can use it for other reasons. And Snake goes into this whole thing of like, I feel like it's my destiny to get inside that box.
Oh my
like,
God.
I think it would be really helpful. It's like my key to true happiness.
Jesus.
And Sigint's like, well, I mean, they'd take a couple seconds to find you, and if you put it in the right spot, yeah, they could probably take you places. Like, whatever. Where the box? What do I care? Like, it's very, very interesting how they do that. Like, they have a lot of fun ones with that. Like, we're definitely gonna get into like when Snake is naked, as far as like he's not wearing any camo, and each of them have their own like, what the hell are you doing? Like, put on clothes. Like, Paramedic will talk about stamina. Someone will talk about camo index. It's very good. I do think the famous one that everybody at least knows is that we're gonna have to cue the audio. Sorry, Chris, but
Oh yeah.
the bad dream codec call where Snake wakes up and has a bad dream, and DARPA chief Mr. Sigint himself has to explain to him about how he had a bad dream himself, and it's basically that he had a dream that there was a tank made completely of shit, and he would shoot things, and everything it shot turned to shit. So then the whole world was just a big pile of shit. And then he finishes it with like, well, it was just a dream though, right? Okay. And that's it.
Snake, you okay?
Yeah, I had a terrible dream.
No kidding. What happened?
I don't want to think about it. I was being attacked by monsters that looked human, and I'm not even sure if I was really me.
At least it was just a dream. It's all over when you wake up.
True.
When you think about it, the fact that you can imagine a situation worse than the one you're in now means life can't be all that bad.
I sure hope so.
Well, let me tell you about the absolute worst, most sickening nightmare I ever had. This isn't one for the kids. Okay, so there's this big pile of crap, right? It's shaped like a giant tank, and it's walking around on two legs, going on a rampage and stomping on people and houses and stuff. And this giant turd is carrying the nastiest missiles you ever saw. Like, whenever it launches one of its turd missiles, whatever it hits, people, trees, buildings, turns into shit. My hometown, my old school, my family, my girlfriend, old man John, everything in that turd's path turned into shit.
That's pretty sick, man.
Good thing it was just a dream, huh?
Yes, that's a good thing.
You feeling better now?
Yeah.
Good. Then let's get down to business. You see, Snake, people are just sacks of shit, and they're full of holes. Fill them up with water, and it's gotta come out from somewhere. Okay, maybe that was a bad example. What I'm trying to say is, no matter what the situation, there's always a way out. Don't throw in the towel yet. Clear your mind. Think it through. Assess the situation. You'll find a way to escape.
Got it.
Don't let my nightmare come true.
Right.
And I
Oh
don't
my
know
God.
I don't know what that has anything to do with, but it's just one of those when you're on like your 35th call to Sigint, that's what you get. So and
That's
then
crazy.
and then the obvious like pop-up video is that he became the DARPA chief, which we'll get into many more games down the road.
Right.
But the actual ARPANET that he is part of does have ties in our real world to creating the internet, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah. I think another interesting thing about Sicken is that potentially he could have been this great comrade for Snake in the story, but that ends up becoming Cause, you know.
yeah.
But it would have been interesting to see what the game series, how the story would have turned out if, you know, Sigint had taken the place of Kazura Miller. Yeah.
Oh.
It would have been a very well, I guess maybe not at all. I mean, it would have been a different game, but we do know what the DARPA chief ends up doing.
Well,
So it's not like he's a good guy too. You know what I mean?
I feel like Sigint and Snake had more of a equal kind of relationship, whereas Kaz
Definitely.
was just, in a way, a bit of a bootlicker. So
Yeah. Those binoculars are yours.
yeah.
I do love Kaz though.
Yeah.
I will say that when we get to Kaz, I do love me.
That'll
some
be fun to
Kaz.
talk about. Yeah.
Definitely.
Can't wait.
So, I think we can move on. I mean, we're gonna chime in back and forth to both of them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It is interesting though as we keep going through that final scene when we get to the end of the game, how each of the characters in that room interact with the now labeled Big Boss,
Right.
and most of the Fox unit, which includes our Mr. Sigint, he is very reserved, no words, barely looks at him, just because they're well aware of what happened. And they're part of the unit that included the boss. So it's very interesting how they they play on emotions and expectations even at the literal last cutscene, and they take these characters and do something good with them, but it's almost feels too little, too late at that point. At least
Right.
at least for MGS3.
Yeah.
So I'd say moving on. I am interested to talk about paramedic.
Yeah.
So
So
this one is a good one. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I got a fun little way to start her off, actually. So the official Metal Gear Solid website had this versus battle bracket way back, like I think in 2013 or something. But each character had these bios that was featured in these battles, and paramedic had her bio said that her strengths are being patriotic and being Foxhound's top doc, and her weaknesses are talks too much.
Yep. Well, she even like calls herself out for being like, well, I mean, I'm really smart, but like I'm also hot.
Yeah.
So like you got to use
What?
that, right? Yeah, she actually says like I think she says something along the lines of like I'm also not so bad to look at, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have heard that.
Yeah, and she's very good at what she does. I will definitely chalk her up that she's not blowing smoke when she does a lot of conversations around the food you eat, how do you build stamina, how does it affect, like, so when you're naked snake, arguably like no camo on, she actually tells you like put on something because your stamina is going to drop faster because you're colder or hotter or whatever it is. Like it does affect other parts of the game rather than just everybody can see you because you don't have clothes on.
And I love that stamina due to body temperature is something that's taken into account. I know we're talking about paramedic here, but I just got to say again that to think of that effect that the environment might have on you in the most survivalist entry into the series. I don't know. I just think that's really cool.
Oh yeah, she's got a very cool. So again, the name paramedic itself even comes from her wanting to be available at any time to drop in and be a medic. Like that's
Right.
basically what that comes from, and she does end up doing that in the 70s. When we get there, she actually does create her own paramedic unit, which is really cool. So another big interesting thing about her is that she loves movies. Oh boy, does she love
Oh,
movies.
yeah.
So as you keep saving the game, she will not stop talking. And she will go into so many movies. I mean, she talks about The Fly. She loves horror movies, sci-fi. She really freaks out about those and really gets into them, which is interesting to say. But after a while, you just want to save, so you just want to hit the triangle button to
Yeah, I
pass
get it,
by really
paramedic.
quick.
I get it. That's cool. Anyway, I have to
So-
go save the world. No big deal.
Yeah. So it's interesting though. But she also has a very interesting relationship with Major Zero. They have a lot of tete-a-tetes where she'll talk about how she has a fun thing with Snake where every time she talks about anything, he wants to know, can he eat it? Mm-hmm. It's always about, can I eat it? Does it taste good? They'll even have a whole conversation about crocodile meat. You should love it. And he goes, yeah, it's real stringy, but like chicken. He's giving it a whole detailed explanation, and she's just like, yeah, no, that's fine. I just, you can eat it.
Yeah.
Let's go. I want to talk about something else, which is, but then she'll make a joke and call out Zero for liking tea and biscuits and scones, or excuse me, scones.
Oh my god.
He'll jump into the call and be like, "What's wrong with liking tea and scones? Who has a problem with my scone?" And then it's just and the whole conversation cuts out.
There's nothing strange about the Major.
My tea's gone. Who drank it? How am I supposed to have tea time without tea?
Well, not too strange, at least.
Hey, my scone's gone too.
It's just it's crazy that they're going to be such shitty people in future games that they feel so wholesome in this this episode, I guess, whatever you want to call it, this early on. I can't wait to get into what fucking happened to make them just be so shitty moving forward, especially paramedic gets pretty fucking bananas, and she does talk a little bit about it in a call. She talks about cloning, like being like coming up with progenitors to sell like DNA on the market and
Right?
make
Fuck.
clone armies, and that's like a thing she's into. This
Damn.
isn't like she's
Jane
not like,
Doe.
oh, it'll happen. Yeah, she's like really into it. And the big elephant in the room is, or at least it was a few years back, is paramedic like Dr. Clark from MGS3, and that was like a big effing deal of like how the hell would like it seems like it would be, and they never actually proved that Dr. Clark was a man, a woman, at the time, and they obviously went into it, by the time Metal Gear Solid 4 and then 5, like they've answered that question moving forward, but there was a lot of theories like over the years of like, because they actually only said that Dr. Clark was a man in America. In Japanese, it was gender neutral. So it was like, was it a choice outside of the country to make it something different? Was it just a translation error? But you know how people get. I mean, we're gonna find out on Twitter what I screwed up in this episode alone.
Yeah.
So
Godspeed, Warren.
yeah, but it's I don't know. Paramedic's cool, but again, these people just become really shitty. Like they do some really fucked up things in future games.
Well,
I can't.
I think it speaks to the kind of work that they do, right? And as the Fox unit, they're doing the dirty laundry of the CIA, who's like
Yeah.
doing the dirty laundry of
yeah,
the
they're a
government.
ragtag group. Yeah, they're the A team for the CIA.
Yeah.
There's an interesting poster. Whoever wants to draw that.
Oh, that would be good.
Oh, yeah.
That would be good.
It'll be interesting though, Tori, because you're playing the PlayStation 2 version. That later in the game, there's this part where Snake has a nightmare, and it's about vampires, and it's because Paramedic keeps talking to him about vampire movies, so he blames her.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Oh, he definitely does too, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love continuity stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I do. Yeah. So she's a very interesting character, and that's the thing. She's so wholesome. I actually really like her in this. She's always worried about Snake, and she's always worried about his well-being, and honestly, even the well-being of others. She does try to say, do the right thing about how to take care of people or how to move forward with the mission that is about self-preservation first, things like that.
Right.
And she just becomes something that she isn't. Very similar to our boy Major Tom, Major Zero, or O.
Hold up.
As we
Are we
eventually
moving?
get there.
Are we moving to him right now, or?
If you want to stop me, let's go. What else you got for me?
Yeah, just a little bit more about Paramedic. Just some fun
Please.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'll just, I guess,
You got
go
some
out of
fun
them in the order
facts
I see
for
'em.
us?
No, just some moments that stuck out to me as being particularly fun. Like this call that I might have you cue in which she talks about calorie mates and their influence on the geisha community in Japan. So this codec call started out for me with, I see you have some calorie mate, and Snake at that point, since I'd allowed him to eat it, says, yeah, that stuff is really tasty. And she's like, yeah, well, it's got all your nutrition stuff. And he goes, okay, but what is it? And she gives him shit for not knowing what it was, even though he ate it. And then they go on talking about how the calorie mate is used by the geisha community to like maintain all their nutritional needs without adding a bunch of poundage. They can keep their slim figures, And this conversation ends with Snake going, wow, you know a lot about Japan. And then there's me waiting for some obscure piece of backstory that gives her a reason to love Japan and, know everything there is to know about Japan. And then the conversation just ends with her saying, yes, I love Japan. And I'm just like, what? Okay. Of all the things to leave us hanging on, I just got done talking about how they think to keep going the continuity of paramedics talking about vampires being in Snake's dreams, but you sure know a lot about Japan. Yeah, I love it. All right.
Done.
I guess that's it. There's one more codec call too that it just, it's a fun little nod to the future. I can't remember what else is going on in this call, but at the end of it, it's maybe someday you'll be able to turn invisible. She's referencing a movie. Name that movie. Anybody?
The Invisible Man.
I don't think it is, though.
I mean, I know she likes classic monsters, like the Universal monsters, and he is one of them.
That might be it. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, and Snake's just like, yeah, that'll be the day. And you're just like, tee-hee, because
Cue
you've
MGS1.
seen it.
Right.
And just so Chris feels right at home, obviously Paramedic is like the frogs in Mother 3. Use
Oh,
her to
yeah.
save.
Yeah. She's your save point.
That's
Right.
frog in a car, baby. So, all right, moving on to our boy, Major Zero himself, the father of Fox.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, okay, I really like Major Zero in this game. He's very much like a father figure to Snake. I feel like he does want to do the right thing. He was a British SAS soldier where he met Boss. That's where they sort of teamed up. And I guess he found his way into the CIA and he did so much. Like, he has this rich backstory, obviously, like Sokolov. He had helped him before in a mission, and now he's got like that. He's got like such a hero move of like, tell him I'm sorry I'm late. And it's like, oh, I want to know about that game. Like, tell me that story. And he's got a very cool, like, I don't know if he's just like your mission objectives. Like, he doesn't really have more than just gameplay. Here's how you win, Snake. Right? Like, that's like when you call him, that's what you get out of that.
Yeah, he'll chime in on other people's Kodak conversations, but when you call him, it's always like, here's your mission, stay on your mission.
Yeah. He's your navigation point of like, wait, what was I doing again? Since I last played, and he'll catch you up there, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So.
I think also in the context, really, each of these characters has an analogy to the previous titles in the series, right? So the elephant in the room is that Major Zero is just Roy Campbell, right?
Right.
That's his role here, to be the Major Campbell of Metal Gear Solid 3. And he's... right? I mean, I don't think that's really revelatory or anything, right? But...
Right. It's very interesting. You're right, Al, analogous, how they're stand-ins. They're parallels on purpose. It's just comforting in the game, but as far as the big picture, it's like, oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, Tori, I want to talk about the UMA Finders Club.
Yes. So... this is another one of those things that I wish I could have triggered this in the game and not just stumbled upon it. And if anybody has ever triggered this, please tell me how, because I just need to know this dialogue in its entirety. So Major Zero, alongside Signet, not only are members of, but have founded something called the UMA Finders Club. And UMA in this instance stands for Unidentified Mysterious Animals. So, cryptids. These nerdy boys are out here looking for and celebrating, I imagine, cryptids.
Okay.
Jesus. Does Major Zero Illuminati?
What is a cryptid? What is that? I don't understand it.
A cryptid is like a mythological creature, like your Bigfoot or... your Creature of the Black Lagoon, talking of paramedics' love of weird
your
sci-fi shit.
Your Sasquatch, your Loch Ness Monster, they're all considered
Yeah.
all considered cryptids.
Or like fairies even.
Oh, yeah.
Technically a part of the cryptid classification.
Gotcha. Okay.
So these little nerdy boys just go around searching for cryptids, and lo and behold, there's a possibility to find one in game that just Major Zero will go nuts over if you manage to collect it. It's called the Tsuchinoko, which is a snake-like cryptid from Japan. It is 30 to 80 centimeters in length and a girthier than average. Snake.
All about that girth, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a rare in-game find. I'm sure there's like one specific location in the map that you can find it. Undetectable by motion detector or thermal goggles, by the way, so good luck. Get on the ground like the snaky boy you are and look for this Tsuchinoko. You can catch it with mouse traps. If you kill it, it squeaks like a rat would, so again, good luck finding this one. It will fill Snake's stamina completely when eaten. It's the only thing that will. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Yeah.
In its entirety.
Yeah. And yes, it is encouraged to keep. The game encourages you to keep this until the end of the game, because if you do, you will get access to the Infinity Face Paint, which gives you infinite ammo when worn, obviously. But Major Zero is very much in favor of you doing that instead of eating it. And if we have any queue space left, there's a little bit of dialogue where Major Zero urges Snake not to eat this one.
Snake, you caught a Tsuchinoko.
What?
Is it true, Snake?
Yeah.
Way to go, my man! You really are the boss's apprentice.
Yes, it looks like sending you in was worth it after all. Hurry up and finish your mission and then bring it back to us. Under no circumstances are you to eat it, is that clear?
That's damn good.
Right. It's funny you bring up the Infinity Face Paint. There is an interesting thing with Signet. We don't have to cue it or anything, but when they talk about the Patriot, the gun itself, which is naturally infinitely ammo, when he's explaining it to Signet about why the gun's so special, he actually says the reason why it has like the drum barrels is because they're shaped in an infinity symbol, and that's why it never runs out of bullets. And Signet just goes, "Yeah, that makes sense," and then the call ends.
It's nanomachines.
Yeah.
It's infinity. Whatever.
So then Major Zero, and again, we're only going to touch surface scratch. But
Hold on. Well,
go ahead.
I do have a question though. So, what about all the white girls that have the infinity symbol on their like foot? Does that mean they can run infinitely fast?
That would be my understanding, Chris. Yeah.
Or they too have infinite ammo, so you should run infinitely fast away from them.
Infinite kicks.
Yeah. Just infinite power.
Just some like Chun-Li shit going down in the streets.
Thighs for days.
Uggs to the face.
Times infinity.
Live,
that
laugh,
seems
love
like
this.
Yeah, that's a brand deal if I've ever heard one.
I just heard K.O.
Yes.
in my head.
Oh, that's the fucking best. So with Zero, like again, we're gonna baby steps on this because it's gonna be a huge deal in a future game. But we do learn about with the boss and David O, which is his real name, in both being part of the British SAS. We learn later that this whole time that we're doing the Fox unit and Operation Snake Eater, almost simultaneously, Major Zero is creating his own sort of anti-Fox, and they call it the XOF. And he's hiring. We actually learned that Skullface, who is a pretty great villain in 5, has been around since MGS3, basically cleaning up the mess. So as we've been playing this game, and there are those that can sort of make fun of, well, you shot a rocket, like you shot a guy that acts like a spider and he exploded into crossbow bolts. Nobody looked twice at that or did anything about it, and we sort of learned that Skullface sort of went in and cleaned house to make sure Snake Eater actually went off without a hitch. which is kind of a retcon, but it is interesting because it makes Skullface a very interesting character as to his motivations moving down the road.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we don't have to go too much into that, but
It's
it
all
is
right,
important
though.
to know simultaneously, like in our timeline, that is happening.
Yeah.
It's not
And
like
that's pretty
Kojima
interesting.
retcons a lot or anything, so it's
No,
we'll forgive him this once.
Yeah,
He,
these have all been written out. They're all written out since like 1984, right? He's had all the
Yeah.
story ready to go. Yeah.
He gets one more retcon with me, guys. I don't
Yeah?
know.
We just started this,
on-
and he
How
only
many-
gets one more.
He's on
How many
thin
how many
ice.
comas? How many comas does he get, Chris?
He gets
Oh my
no
God.
comas from me.
No more comas.
No more comas for me. There's already been one coma.
Technically,
By the
too, if you
way-
go pre-game.
Before we move too far away from Major Zero, I do just want, because you mentioned this recently, Warren, the fact that his code name Zero comes from O. I can't believe we glossed over the James Bond whole fucking freak out that Major Zero has in one of the codec calls.
Very true. And as a Bond fan, I kind of agree with him. If it's in the 60s and you don't know what James Bond is, that thing
It's
is
not. I don't know if that was the problem so much as Snake was just like, well, I don't see what the big fucking deal is.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, he was a British soldier. Like that is.
Yeah.
That would be way more of the jam. I guess if we were to argue in America, Bond didn't get big until Goldfinger. So maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe it was like a brand new movie. Snake's been training, getting his ass beat by the boss, developing CQC. So maybe he didn't get a chance to see it yet. Maybe.
I just take this one as another one of those that you were talking about, Warren, where they've established a rapport with each other and they like to
Yeah.
give each other shit. And my favorite thing about this conversation, and I've heard it 100 times, but Major Zero gets so butthurt about it that he goes, "Oh well, I understand. Not everybody could bed femme fatales the way James Bond can. If it's about the hanky panky," at that point, Snake's just like, "Major."
I mean, he kind of proves us right because Snake and Eva, spoiler alert, they never really get down in
Yeah.
this game, and they totally should.
There's,
Especially,
I think,
especially later in the game where it's probably real.
I believe that's up for debate, according to a very, very early conversation that took place in the Discord, and I don't even remember who it was anymore. But that was up for debate. We could reinvigorate this. We could reprise that whole conversation.
I'll
Do they
say
get it on?
I'll say we'll worst case we'll put a pin in this because I do think there's a little bit of a touch in it in one of the most recent seasons coming after this. We are going to learn a little bit more about what went on there. And I think
This
there
is-
might be an answer to that question.
This is why you don't make assumptions before you've finished the series, Tori. God.
Yeah,
damn it.
and that's okay because I made the assumption too, and I know how I felt at 20, what I would have done in that cave. So I get where he's coming from.
You're talking about the cave.
Yeah, well, by that point, I'm saying
Okay.
much later in where I think it's a little more genuine at that point where there's a lot of game already played, a lot of saving each other's asses and doing the right thing for people. She's already sort of saved him from a really dangerous encounter where
True.
he probably should have died. You know, things like that. Just stuff happens.
Good point.
Where I'd maybe believe it a little more there. But when we get to the gameplay, and we will learn a little bit more about Eva towards the end of this season, as well as in a future game, how her choices impact future events in the series. So we will get
Word.
there when the time comes.
Yep.
I do love, we'll finish up with Zero a little bit here. So I'm obsessed with the British spy thing that he is. And every once in a while, they tend to like kind of dig at Snake for being an American, which I thought like the boss and he were like the only ones that weren't American at that point.
Yeah.
So there's a conversation between them where basically Zero is saying that Fox leaves nothing behind, right? And they sort of say that about the Cobra unit too. Like you're trained that this is so secret that they can't know you're there at all. And Snake makes a joke of like, well, yeah, even when I go to the bathroom, I bury that shit real good. And Zero is just like, you do what? He's like, I bury it. He's like, oh, you Americans are so generic. He's like, take that with you. And he's like, I have to do what? And he really means it like that. He's like, they're so sloppy. Like, you just don't know how to handle anything. He's like, you should be carrying that like around with you. And it's like a thing. And I didn't know that. I thought British would have been the other way. I thought they were much more.
Part of your mission is to demonstrate to the brass the core concepts behind Fox. Leave no evidence. That's the essence of Fox. And avoid engagement with the enemy.
Understood.
Not only that, I mean leave nothing behind, including weapons, equipment, footprints, sweat, even bodily waste.
Yeah, when I do my business, I bury it good.
What?
What's wrong?
That's the American way.
American way for what?
To handle defecation. You're going to bury it?
Yeah.
Bring it home with you.
What?
That's what we did in SAS.
Mm.
The US Army is sloppy. They do things well, but not perfectly. Here in Fox, we're doing things my way. Got it?
Yes, sir.
What
Like
do
the
you
smell
do
of that won't alert guards to you.
with your
You would
doo-doo?
think. Yeah. Or maybe it helps. Maybe it helps with maybe it helps with staying part of that forest environment. You kind of fit in better because the smell would be hopefully like that from all the
Shit,
other
human
stuff going on.
fecal shit?
Yeah, why not?
That's what the smell would be?
Clearly, I don't live near many forests, so
Well, I mean, it would be gamey considering all the snakes and rabbits and
yeah,
fish
stringy
and gators.
stringy chicken meat from Crocs. Yeah, definitely. And then my last piece is I like I said we've established that they tend to have a very good rapport with everybody, and after the Halo jump, you could actually sneak a conversation with Zero and Paramedic where they kind of knock Snake for his not so great Halo jump, considering even though it was the first one, he could have done better with whatever. And Snake sort of like knocks himself out. Like he was like, "Oh, it was successful." He's like, "I mean, who loses their bag and misses the drop zone by 500 meters or
That's
whatever?"
a good point.
And he says, "Well, it's never been proven," but he does go into a whole thing about how the boss did a lot of work around the Halo jump, creating it with, I guess, not Paramedic, but like how Paramedic kind of chimes in, like she was the instructor on everybody that decided how the jump is done and made, and she did all these studies. So they just keep building up this character, the boss, not from Snake's point of view, which is interesting because Snake is in love with the boss. Maybe not, sexually, but he like that is his supreme person, right? Like no one's better. Half of his life he feels he owes to the boss. But it's very cool to hear these other people that don't just know stories about her. She has like a real past of why she is like the fucking G, like why she's earned that respect from basically everyone. And we even see it from like Volgin later in the game. He'll say we got to do a thing, and boss will be like, "We got to do what?" And he'll like back up, like, "Whoa, I wasn't saying that now. Like it's okay. Like we can do it your way. It's cool." Like I like that kind of stuff. Again, it's world building, but it's all through. Of course, we all make fun that it shouldn't be in emails and all that shit, but sometimes that stuff is the best way. I don't need to see flashbacks of the boss being a badass to know she's a badass.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Right.
I think it's interesting in this the versus battle description for Major Zero. It says his strengths are master manipulator of the Oval Office.
He is. That's very true. Holy shit, that is
Yeah.
a very good way to put it. And we're gonna get into that a lot
Yeah.
in future games. He really is a fucking problem when you really go back.
Yeah. Weaknesses are big boss, slowly consumed by power.
I love that Big Boss as a character is his weakness.
Yeah.
That is such a fucking spoiler for the end of the story.
Oh yeah.
Well,
That's all right. We have what 11 seasons before we get there, so we got a long way
so
to go. till
most
we
of
get
our
to
listener
MGS4.
base has already been there, I think.
Oh, well, I
Oh,
would
yeah.
hope so. And especially, it's not even the last game to come out, so it's an
Yeah.
old game at this point too. So that leaves us one left, guys, and that is John Doe, Jack, Naked Snake.
John, Jack, Naked,
Mm-hmm.
Doe, Snake.
Yep.
Doey Snake.
John.
His name is my name too.
There's
So-
That was dumb.
Yeah.
do you-
We're still building a rapport, Tori.
I should
Sorry.
just start off with his versus battle thing because it's a lot. It's pretty chunky. And
Naked Snake
fucking
enters the battle. Go ahead. What does he got?
hilarious. Oh
I
my
want to
God.
hear. I want to hear.
Strengths. Okay. Strengths are the original Snake, taught by the boss, arguably the greatest
sure.
warrior ever. Too
Sure.
numerous to name.
I like that they listed 4 or 5 of them before getting to that point.
Yeah.
Weaknesses are Eva, cigars,
Yeah.
nukes.
That's nukes.
And then the last one is disillusion from battle and betrayal.
Dude, I love the spoilers. It's so good.
All right. Featured facts. There's a few of these. So, Foxhound founder and genetic father of Solid, Liquid, and Solid as Snake. Big Boss earned his name by defeating the boss in Operation Snake Eater.
Spoiler alert. And we're gonna get into Big Boss at the end of this whole thing, because we learn the Big Boss becomes the big boss at the end of this game.
Yeah.
So we're definitely gonna touch a little bit about what's gonna happen in the future. Not a ton, because it does ruin some of the plot points in future games. And I will say half of those I don't remember. Like, I know the big broad brushstrokes of story that happen about certain characters, but I don't remember like the little intricacies of what, like, something like this that we would get out of doing a cool character deep dive on a portable ops, or Peace Walker. When we get to Peace Walker, I'm pretty excited for that one. I remember really trying to push that on other people to play, because it just, for some reason, since it wasn't on PS2 or whatever, people were over it. And I was like, guys, it's really good, but we'll get there. So, yeah, Naked Snake, who will eventually be Big Boss. So a lot of the interesting stuff in this game that we know about him is us playing the game. So obviously he's going to be a badass soldier that kills the Cobra unit, finds a way to stop the boss, stop the Shagohod, all the stuff with Sokolov that we're learning. Apparently a secret friend to Ocelot, even though they're enemies, but he still wants to help him by explaining why his gun is a piss-poor example of a gun he should be using and all this kind of stuff. But it's very interesting to learn that. So when the game came out, as far as the timeline within it, so Snake is probably like 20, 30, I'd say, because the game's 64?
24, 25?
So he would have been, he'd probably be closer to 30. I think he's 1935 is his birth year. And he met the boss when he was 15.
Yeah.
So it was like half of his life, and I guess that's what he means when he says half my life. Maybe he meant half my lifetime. Maybe he didn't mean his actual life in that. We'll get to that in a story episode. I definitely took that the other way, but now the math is literally saying he's known the boss half of his life. So maybe that's what he meant. But again, and he met the boss while fighting in the Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't necessarily, call you out, Tori, but the snake is not so green as we sort of think he is.
Nah, he's not. I'll eat my words now.
Now, he's not holy shit, right? He's not like a giant badass. But again, he fought in multiple wars. We did learn that there was a little bit, like, he was a Green Beret for years. He did
pretty
fight
decorated one at that.
Yeah, he has a Korean service, right? He has, Vietnam service ribbons. He's got the Army Achievement ribbon. He's also a good conduct. He's a good boy. So that's important. And Defense Distinguished Service ribbon, that's like DOD. Yeah, that's like DOD shit. Like, he's basically, it makes perfect sense why he becomes Big Boss at the end of it. The boss had a really good fucking plan for him. And that's the one thing we've talked about it before too, is the will of the boss, right? That 6 different people think 6 different things about what the actual will of the boss is. At least that's my understanding of it.
It's the big dispute that causes all this conflict between these friends right now in the game who rely on each other to get through the challenges that the player faces.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when the boss was around, everything was so much more simple, wasn't it?
She was kind of the glue that was holding everything together, right?
Right.
It was...
Yeah.
Do you think that's why they put her in a white suit at the end?
I don't know about
I'm still thinking that's it.
No,
that's a David Bowie thing.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
man,
care what anybody says.
She's glue. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sneaking suit is so fucking dope, though. Just everything about that suit looks so good.
I can't wait to unlock the one in the game that you can.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So he was involved in that Bikini Atoll test with the airborne detonation of the hydrogen bomb, which was similar to the boss, and they both sort of had that sterile piece. So obviously a lot worse could have happened to Naked Snake being involved in that, but he just got like, I'm sterile now, which is apparently a very small as far as a threat of what could have happened to you. But it could help us to maybe,
Are you talking about being near a hydrogen bomb when it goes off?
Yeah.
I would say
yes,
so. Yes.
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sterile.
I'm not. Look, I don't have a scientist coat on, so I'm not able to.
We don't do
know.
health claims on Metal Gear
Yeah.
Mondays.
You can push those glasses up with the action button, though.
That's true. I have my glasses on tonight as well, so I should have done that. But it is interesting how that's probably another thing that got Jack and the boss to sort of bond. They have something that sort of, it might be so subtle when you just write it down on paper, but if that was something he may have been dealing with, especially talking about the making, your progenitor and having a legacy and all this kind of stuff, the boss maybe had that talk with him in the past of like, look, it doesn't mean kids. You can still make your mark on this, on this planet without just by having kids, because I can't either, right?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting how that's, he's go ahead, Chris.
It ties to a big part of the theme of this whole saga, which is the legacy, the interpretation of it, and like how your will is kind of carried on, or even if it should be carried on,
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I would just want to be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's huge. And I mean, it is a very common thing that we see in film and we hear about in stories. Like, to be remembered is sort of like a big deal to some people. You want to have purpose.
Yeah. I mean, part of being a mortal thing on this earth is like to have to deal with and accept the concept of death, right?
Right.
So here you have Snake who like wants to carry on the will of the boss that he sees as this mother figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Zero doesn't have the same kind of relationship, and I think that's kind of the start of the tension between the two of them.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. When you break it down that way, that definitely makes sense, especially when we don't have to go too much into it because it's not a spoiler, but we're going to get to it at the end of this season. That whole conversation, where he finds the tape from Eva at the grave and everything, he has to basically, he makes a very big decision in that moment that we know, not that it's going to be a Metal Gear Solid 4, but we're going to learn about, or why Metal Gear Solid 1 happened, right? But there's a big gap in time at that point. But we knew that there was going to be oh shit, Big Boss is a fucking problem now. He's not going to be doing what he's supposed to. He's not just a soldier boy now. He's going to make his own rules, and he's going to get listened to, right? He's kind of his own boss, which makes perfect sense of Big Boss after, eliminating the boss. It's very interesting how, you're right, that parallel piece of it's all cyclical in this game makes it very compelling. Doesn't necessarily happen per se, because then it becomes brother, the les enfants terribles, all that
brother.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on, but yeah, I guess the only other thing that we can bring up with Jack that isn't just either future game stuff or literal gameplay is the dynamic of him with Boss and how Son, right? Potentially, not obviously Son, but she's had him for a long time. And then we have Ocelot on the other side. And it's still interesting how I think I know the answer, and as we research, but when we get to start talking about Adamska Shalashaska, we are going to have to just really just put our foot down and say he did or did not know at this exact time in the game or at this time in the story, whether it's definitely he never knew anything or what, because he's very much like his mother when we get to that, right? He's doing the right thing just on the other side of the fence.
And you guys are getting me real eager for Metal Gear
know.
Solid 5.
Yeah, there's some good shit. There's some good shit in there. It just sucks that that game wasn't finished.
Yeah.
But
I hear
Grease.
pitchforks clinking. The crackle of torches in the wind.
but as far as we have for Jack, and even just the Fox unit as a whole, is there anything else we want to just round table sum up before we sort of just push to the end of this? Just because there's a lot more we can bring up, but again, it is talking. It's talking in circles around the gameplay or not Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
And I want to do the other game service by letting us be like, remember the companion piece we did in Metal Gear Solid 3? Listen to that, and then maybe catch up for Peace Walker or whatever when it ties to that particular person. Because we're going to have, like how we're doing the Fox unit right now, they might turn into their own The Boss like this season, where we're going to be talking about Major Zero as one whole episode for Peace Walker probably, or Portable Ops. You know what I mean? He's gonna be Cypher, right? There's gonna be a lot of other shit going on that's gonna really get involved in later episodes.
You're dropping bombs left and right.
I know, it's crazy, but it's
Dropped
true.
a bomb on me, Warren.
Did you just a Daz band?
Sure.
I love it. I know
Why not?
it's a good one to drop. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, you dropped it, Warren.
Oh, that's what I do. Just dropping bombs, just like the Davy Crockett. So.
Ooh. Way to bring it round.
So yeah. So. Otherwise, we feel pretty good. I think we've done enough service to each of these characters. Like I said, there's a lot of great codec calls out there. There's no way. There's 5 to 10 hours of just codec calls. There's no way we're going to be able to reference all of them in one call. But again, if you want the generic, it's really well written dialogue that's very like plucky and fun between these characters. And frankly, it almost upsets at least people that deep dive because there's a lot there, but there could have been so much more to make the Fox unit so much more like badass. And at the end of the day, they end up just being foiled by another group of people that are just as interesting, let's just say, in future games. So yeah. So, guys, that's going to complete another episode of Metal Gear Monday's Revengeance. So we will be back. We're going to be back with another gameplay-focused episode. We're going to be doing we're on our way out of the boss fight with the pain. We're going to go all the way to that damn ladder. And we're going to figure it out. We're going to fight a couple bosses. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. The next episode will be real fun.
Yeah. There's a lot of good shit. It is, like we've talked about it before, Chris, but it is where the game really not opens up, but it's like the golden piece of that game. There's some really awesome shit in this like couple of hours right there. But yeah, so thanks again for listening, guys. And wherever you guys listen, please give us a rating and a review if you have time. It really does go a long way. If you want to find socials or ways to contact previous or current hosts, you can go to MetalGearMondays.com. If you want to go to Facebook and Instagram, we're at Metal Gear Mondays. If you want to go to Twitter, we're at Metal Gear Monday, character limit. I'm going to shout out the Patreon and the Discord. So for just $1, you can get into the Discord. We did talk about the basically the Game of the Month club that we're doing. We have some interesting things going on right now in the Discord, that maybe some rebranding that I'm seeing going on, and some other crazy things happening within the Discord. And I gotta say, it is a lot of stuff happens when I'm asleep, and it's very fun to see just this organic group of Metal Gear fans do a lot more than just talk Metal Gear, and I love to be part of that because I never would if I wasn't involved in this community.
Ditto.
So yeah. So just a big shout out to that, and all our patrons. Thanks a ton again. And the show couldn't happen without you guys, especially as many as we're trying to drop in these character deep dives. But otherwise, Chris, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Chris Hampton II, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or just on the Discord.
Cool. Tori, what about you?
You can find me everywhere by typing in #Ladderbox. Hold on. Ladderbox.
So breathy.
Cut that box.
So breathy right
The
now.
sibilance is going to kill me. Oh my God. I don't think there's a de-esser filter
Tag
Ugh.
ladder boss.
Oh God.
Ladder boss.
Oh.
You can find me at Young Neil everywhere. Bye.
And you can find me at Warren Minix everywhere. That's a social media. If you are into gamer tags, I'm not, but I'm Untaggable Gamer. And I'm part of a bigger thing. Spooky Forest is my band, so if you want to go to Spooky Forest Band anywhere, you can find us on the socials. And we do have an album on Spotify called Dragons Used to Live Here. It would be awesome if you guys could give it a listen. Otherwise, is there anything else we want to drop before we let it rip?
Just one more thing. Chris, I'm so sorry.
I quit.
All right, guys, thanks again. You know what? We're just going to fucking let it rip. We're done here. I'm out.